Hey.
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 We just saw a movie.
That's right. And we took a vacation.
We did. We took a little break.
I think.
So.
After 30 episodes.
Yeah. This is Michelle.
This is Josh.
And you are listening to...
Hey, we just saw a movie.
Thank you, Druid.
Horas tú miros que caros. I've offended
I know, I'm like...
Latin people from the 1400s. Latin? It's weird that it's called Latin, but when you think of the word Latin, you don't think of that kind of Latin.
Right.
Yeah. It's
like
interesting.
Latin the language.
Yeah.
Right.
Not Latin the people. Which, is that a people? I don't know which terminologies work for groups now.
Yeah, so moving on. We just watched... Oh, uh-huh.
I just want to say, looking good, Michelle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Once again.
What did I miss?
You don't know the reference?
I don't. What?
So say, looking good, Michelle. And then you're supposed to say,
feeling good, Josh.
thank you.
Sorry.
Oy vey.
We just watched Trading Places.
This is for the show, not for real life. No compliments to you. Just all show.
Anyway.
Yeah, Trading Places. We saw it. We saw it. I go ahead.
Don't think I've ever seen that movie before.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like I've seen clips, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it played on TV and I saw it in passing, but I never sat down and watched the whole movie before. So.
Well, you did now.
Fresh perspective for me.
Fresh out the box.
Yep. Kind of like Do the Right Thing.
That's right.
I had never seen that movie either.
I've seen it a number of times.
And you had,
Same here.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of things.
I'm going to have to pick a movie that I have seen a lot.
Girls Just Want to Have
You
Fun.
have not seen. Yeah, you haven't seen that movie?
No.
Of course not. Yes. Maybe we'll do a Girls Just Want to Have Fun episode.
We'll do that for your birthday month.
Okay.
Next year.
Yeah, guys, did you guys know this is June, Josh's birthday month?
That's right. This is the
it
month
might
I
be
was
over
born.
by the time we post this, but
Yeah, you might be listening to this 2 years later. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Josh, the millionaire?
Yeah. But if it's June, it's Josh's birthday.
Does that meet the press?
Yeah.
If it's June, it's Josh's birthday.
Yeah, so this was Josh's movie pick for his
That's
birthday.
right.
He was debating. There were several other movies in the running.
Yeah. There's actually a ton of movies that I thought of.
Yeah.
And then it started whittling down to Eddie Murphy movies, and that was tough.
Yeah.
And then a couple of people on the Facebook page, we have a Facebook page now, if that matters, they said Trading Places, and I was like,
You're like, people.
that is a pretty funny
right.
movie. So, before we get into that, what we've been watching.
Bing.
What have we been watching?
We binged like crazy Married at First Sight.
Oh yeah.
Season
My
10
goodness.
or whatever.
That was like what's it called? Where you have to shoot and then you cross country. Is that what's called? You have to shoot and then you ski and then you have to
Oh, I think there's more of a name than that. Than cross country. Yeah, decathlon or something like
Decathlon I think is in the summer.
Well, I get what you're saying. There was a lot of moving parts.
Ice decathlon.
Yeah.
We did that for 4 days.
Yep. And it was addicting and also horrifying.
I was gonna say it was just annoying. Those people were annoying.
Crazy. Yeah.
I've never seen so many insane. I think the women were more. No.
We were going back and forth because at one point all the women were acting crazy.
The women, I would say,
we were feeling bad for all the men.
I've never felt so bad for men in any of the shows we've ever watched.
Right.
There was a lot of crazy chicks where the dudes, I was like, this is a little odd, but it is the dude, so it was out of pocket for a lot of the women how they were acting.
But then a couple of them, the dudes, met the crazy level head on. So
completely.
They were just even in their crazy, and nobody had any business being in a room together.
So like, why did you come here?
Right.
And then we've been watching Central Park, which is really good with Josh Gad and
cute.
like all the cast of Hamilton, essentially.
Yeah.
it's pretty much it's like pretty much Disney people and the cast of Hamilton.
Yeah.
So if you've been popular for the last 10 years, you're on that show. That's pretty much how it works. And I think we binged something. We watched the season of something. Did we ever talk about Space Force?
I don't remember.
I think we watched Space Force before
we might
Do the Right Thing, so we didn't really talk about
it.
But yeah, Space Force was good.
This was great. I really like that show.
Who is it? BuzzFeed or somebody was trying to hate on it. Vanity Fair.
Really?
Like, Space Force is black. Like all the comments. I even jumped on it. I was like, guys, like what are you just in this world of like bashing Trump and like all jumping on bandwagons? Like you guys are so hungry to bash on something. You're gonna bash on Space Force, which is a silly
that's so lame.
TV show.
Yeah, that's super lame.
This is one of the few things we have in the world to just be really lighthearted about, and you guys are taking it like it's some Marlon Brando movie. Like, let me overthink this.
Right.
It's kind
you
of
know
funny.
what? This is something I forgot to Google. I need to look more into this, but like a headline I saw was that Space Force, the show, won some battle over the logo. Because the government had not trademarked the logo for Space Force. So
I thought they trademarked the name Space Force.
I don't remember. See, so I need to look into the actual details. But whatever it was, the show won because the government didn't take the time to
The government
trademark
ruled
anything.
against the government?
Yeah, I guess so.
In your face, government,
In your
said the
face.
government.
So anyway,
Government.
yeah, we enjoyed Space Force. I feel like we watched something else, but I don't remember
I don't remember
what
either.
it was.
I feel like it was another. I watched most of Devs, and you saw the last 3 episodes.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, it was Devs. I watched the last.
I binged it
like,
in
2
2
episodes.
days because I haven't been sleeping.
I don't feel like I missed anything. I feel like I got it all in the last 2 episodes. 2-3 episodes.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, that's what we've been watching. Bam. That's kind of reading Rainbow.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, Trading Places, the 1983 film directed by Jonathan Landis.
83.
Starring Eddie Murphy,
You know
Dan
what?
Aykroyd, Jamie Lee Curtis.
You know, this is going to be one of those things that you laugh at.
Jim Belushi showed up somewhere.
A lot of random people showed up somewhere in this movie. So at the end of the movie...
Oh, we're getting there already.
I had one of those, like, I was looking at the title and then I got one of those, like, I get it. Trading places.
Oh, I never actually thought about that.
Oh, yay. You're not laughing at me. I thought for sure this was going to be one of those,
now I'm laughing
what's
at
wrong
you.
with you? Okay, good. Well, it's a double name.
That's right. It's a lot of doubles in this movie.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump into the fabulous IMDb synopsis. Yeah. My favorite. Is that the crowd cheering for me?
Yeah.
And then you turned into one of those snakes from Rick and Morty?
It's more. I'm gonna do a 90s video game.
What is that?
That's how they sounded, like the cheers. I can't do multiple because they would layer them, but it's pretty much just like, and they would layer them, like stagger them. So that was the 16-bit PCM sampled,
sounds.
Yeah.
So I feel like we really should have a YouTube channel and record these because there's a lot of hand movements and faces that go into
we have a YouTube channel.
all these sounds. Well, we need to start recording this.
It's just too much work to edit.
The magic.
It's too much work to edit. If somebody wants to produce this show and not like you edit the episodes, but I'm saying like for the video and a lot of that other stuff, like I do that. I'm just like, I have 9 other things.
You guys just
jobs.
made like some lovely face work and some hand gestures.
You know, it'd be really nice.
A lot went into that.
If people jumped on the Patreon, that would give incentive.
All right, guys. If we get more Patreon people, Josh will commit to the YouTube channel.
If we got Patreon people, we could get an intern or essentially a producer or somebody to work on
edit
these.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just send them the things, and then once
what do we
all
need
the
to
stuff
edit
ends.
anything for? We just be live. We be real. We be raw.
Oh, yeah. I think there's been a couple episodes where can you please edit that thing out? I don't want to sound weird. So if you want to be live and raw.
All right. Okay, so Trading Places. Also, I couldn't. I'm just in like, we're both in like bummy pajamas right now.
Yep.
So I guess
I got my ripped boxers. You can see my butt. No, I don't have any of those. But shout out to a friend who shall not be named. His stepdad sat in his. I don't like calling it a Barco Lounger, but that's the first thing
His recliner chair?
His recliner chair, yeah. I always call it Lazy Boy.
Lazy Boy?
He sat in his Lazy Boy so much that his robe had a hole in it. I'm like, that's laziness. So
when you said Lazy Boy, I immediately had a flashback to our first chair in our apartment when we got married. Remember that giant? It was green, right?
Yeah.
It's like this.
It came from your place, didn't it?
Yeah. I didn't even remember where I acquired it. It was somewhere along the way. I acquired this giant chair, and that was like the only piece of furniture we had. So sometimes we would just sit in it together, or mostly we would just lean on the front of it and sit on the floor together.
And that's where that is what I still do to this day.
We sit on the floor and lean on our furniture.
We've had fancy couches, we've had cheap couches since then, and I've sat on the floor many times, not sitting on the couch.
This movie.
Oh yeah, so the synopsis. We're like talking about ourselves and our past.
Yeah. Okay. All right. This is a movie podcast, so here we go. Trading Places, says IMDb. A snobbish investor and a wily street con artist find their position.
And a surly and a incorrigible dirigible. There we go.
Okay. And a wily street con artist find their positions reversed as part of a bet by two callous millionaires. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they could have done, like I've already made jokes, they could have done without all that nonsense.
Right, the snobbish investor.
The snobbish and the bee.
He was though.
He was.
Mean, that's
well in the first scene it was just hilarious because he was sleeping like a 14-year-old boy who had nothing to worry about. Like his mom made his bed and did everything for him. So I thought that was pretty funny. And Dan Aykroyd was spot on for that.
Yes,
I wouldn't have. It would have been so weird. Oh, is that part of your facts?
Yeah, that's part of my facts. We can do that now. We can jump right in. Okay, so I've got some facts about the movie, maybe some did you knows. So for that one, did you know, which you do, but people listening maybe don't.
Do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that life is showing you? Go ahead, sorry.
When you sing now, I'm just going to wait. There's going to pause.
I'm going to wait
how long you'll sing.
I'll just go like...
Is this Bodyguard? Are you going to go into Bodyguard?
That's funny. I didn't even think Bodyguard. That was good. That's good. See? You asked me, you said, how do you know? How could you just hear something and know it's something? See? You have it too.
I do.
You have that.
I do.
You have that thing.
I just don't create. I think I would be a good DJ. We've talked about this. I think if I just did it, I would be a good DJ.
Everybody loves women DJs.
All right, we're talking about this movie. We can talk about
Why are we talking about ourselves?
Later. All right, because we haven't done this in a minute, so now we're just chit-chatty. So, did you know that originally they being the movie people,
movie people,
Richard
Under
Pryor,
the Stairs,
Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder for this movie. That is a cast. Like, having just watched this, I can't imagine those two being in this movie.
Hey, I'm on fire. What did he say?
Oh no! What?
I say,
don't make
hey, I'm on fire. Say that's what Richard Pryor say.
Yeah.
Kanye line.
That's why he couldn't do it. But it is interesting that he couldn't do it, and they were like, okay, bye, Gene. Like there was no mention of
why
like.
Would you have Gene Wilder and then another person? It would be weird.
Well, I know. I'm just saying.
It's like I'm trying to think
Tom
now.
Hanks and Meg Ryan.
Right. Yeah.
They went together for so long.
You're like Tom Hanks and
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah. You're like, ooh, that doesn't sound right.
I don't even think that's the right age bracket. But
yeah. Well, I would say Sarah Jessica Parker is like 6 years
She's a little bit younger. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because they were old by then. They were like 40.
Yeah. It would have had a completely different feel.
Right, and it would definitely felt like an older film. Like it would have been very long in the tooth now. Like the way that Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor would have played it.
Oh, okay,
because they were playing 60s, 70s. Like that's their sensibilities, like 60s, 70s comedy.
Yeah.
And these two guys are newer, so they're playing 70s, 80s comedy because they came up through the 70s.
Right.
So it would have been like even further behind watching it now, and it wouldn't have like probably worked. And then like who would have believed that they would have picked up like an old black dude to like do the switch? I don't know. They were already like the Dukes are already old.
Yeah.
And then it's like they're like 20 years young. It just seemed better with such fresh faces because they're more malleable. Like if I was a 50-year-old black dude and some white guy said, "Hey, we're gonna let you stay," and I'd be like, "This is a scam. I'm not doing it." Like, but since they're both younger, they were able to.
I don't know how old was Eddie Murphy when he did this movie. Do you know?
He's like 20 something.
Oh, okay.
Eddie Murphy like became famous at like 18.
Young, yeah. This was his first. I guess he had filmed 48 Hours, but it hadn't come out yet. And so they said that, like the first day or whatever, everybody is sitting around talking about their careers and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I've done like 72 films, like one of the old guys. And then Eddie Murphy's like, this is like my first one or whatever. And like, so that was interesting. And Dan Aykroyd had been around, but still wasn't like, had made 72 films or whatever. Like these old dudes. Speaking of the old dudes, Don Amici. Okay, yeah. Okay, here's the thing. I saw his name in the credits, and I immediately thought, and I just read it out loud, and I said Don Amici, and then I thought, that's really familiar. Why does that sound so familiar to me? And it's because, Josh, what he just said, he's been saying that around the house for years.
I've been saying that for like, since I saw this movie. Okay. They're probably like 6 years old.
Yeah. So... anytime there's reference like Italian food, I guess, or I don't know what else.
It's like Galbani.
Yeah, he says Don Amici.
Yeah, that's what I say. Sorry, Italians, if that's
offensive. I had no idea this was a person. I didn't know that was somebody's name.
I thought I told you that.
No, I didn't know this was somebody's name.
Yeah, he was a guy. Don Amici.
Yeah.
Acclaimed actor.
R.I.P. to half this cast.
Actor.
Yeah, actor.
Yeah, okay. He was old then.
So here's
in
my
1983.
fun fact. So here's my little fun fact.
Is it fun?
I don't know, kind of is.
Does it come with a Happy Meal?
No. Okay. So Don Amici was not the first choice for this role. It was it was Ray Millard?
Milhouse?
I don't know. He was in a movie called M for Murder or something like that.
Oh, isn't that old? That's Hitchcock? Is M for Murder Hitchcock?
Again, one of these things maybe
What about
the other?
What about the other dude? Was he? Okay, were they not going to have him?
Well, he was so old, he didn't pass the insurance test, like to be on the movie, right? They were like, we don't know. We're afraid you're going to die.
He fell asleep in the audition.
Right. Like, we're afraid you're going to die, so we can't.
Yeah, Hitchcock, baby.
Okay,
I knew
good job.
That's right.
High five. Okay, so here's the thing. Then they were like, can we get Don Amici? And then somebody was like, he doesn't have an agent. Like, he's not listed. Nobody knows where he is.
He's the Bill Murray.
We don't know how to find him.
Guys.
He hasn't done anything in 13 years.
Wow.
And so then
I didn't know that.
I think Landis was like, well, is he dead? And they were like, no, we don't think so. So he just looked him up like in the phone book or something, called him up and was like, hey.
Was there there's like two Don Amicis? And he's like, I'll go with number 2.
Yeah, I'll go with number 2. So he gets him on the phone or whatever and is like, hey, you want to do this movie? And then he says, okay, but you have to pay me what you were going to pay that other guy that you wanted first. So he probably got way more money than he would have because he hadn't been working in forever. So then this kind of revived his career, I guess, because then he went on to make Cocoon and got an Oscar.
Oh, yeah, he was in Cocoon.
He was plucked.
That's a movie we should watch. I didn't understand it as a kid. He was plucked back out.
Yeah. I think Cocoon is also...
Ku Klux Cocoon? Ku Klux Cocoon?
Cocoon.
Krusty Comedy Classic. Oh, no.
Cocoon is another movie I've seen just bits of and passing on TV.
Oh, then we got to watch that then.
Yeah, I've never seen the whole movie. That's not the one with the... No, that's something else. Boom, boom, boom. Like
no. That's Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
We've watched that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen Cocoon. I just know it's old people and there's cocoons. Yeah. I don't know. Do they turn into butterflies? Are they trying to be young? I don't really know.
Forever young.
So, okay. My next...
young. You said you were going to be quiet when I sang.
Oh, sorry. I was just...
Quiet.
Continue.
I'm done.
Okay.
Cocoon.
Okay. Also, did you know that this movie, the story was inspired by there were screenwriters played tennis with these two brothers that were very, very super competitive and would argue, and he heard them arguing about the nature versus nurture thing. So then he went back to his writing partner and was like telling him the story, and then they wrote the movie.
We're brothers.
That's where it all began.
We're happy and we're singing and we're colored.
I wonder...
Give me a high five. Remember the Wayans brothers? WB?
Yes.
Yeah. There you go.
I was all over the WB.
That's right. You were Michigan J Frog.
And all the other wasn't WB what was it before that? It was
the W. Well,
no, it was like
it was a Paramount network.
Paramount, yeah.
And then it became the WB, then it became the CW, and then now it's another Paramount network.
That was it? It was just Paramount? Wasn't something before that?
No, it's Paramount.
Okay, yeah, Paramount.
Yeah.
It was like Channel 21 or something.
I think that's where, what's his name? Where the friend of Eddie Murphy, what is his name?
Josh is asking his brain.
What is his name?
His
Arsenio Hall.
There we go.
The Arsenio Hall Show, starring Arsenio Hall.
Right.
That's right.
Okay. So, anyway, but I wonder how old those brothers were. Like, were they really old? Brothers playing tennis, maybe? And then, or they just made them really old because they were going to be super rich, old guys, old racist dudes in the movie.
A little bit of both.
Yeah. So, okay. I have a few more.
Okay.
So, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
I loved her part in this. Mm-hmm. She played what I read online. They called her the hooker with a heart of gold.
Oh. That sounds like a 70s type like line.
You know, I'm just really...
She's a hooker with a heart of gold, starring in Hooker with a heart of gold. No, it'd be like Hooker with a silver heart. Like, what?
I think there were a lot of hookers with a heart of gold in the 80s and 90s, huh?
And 70s.
Like 70s?
Yeah, I think it was like, it was kind of like a, it was kind of a thing.
Yeah. Anyway.
TJ Hooker?
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, Jamie Lee Curtis, but I just realized that they had like a whole first cast in mind. They didn't really get anybody they wanted.
They scraped everybody.
So, you know.
It was literally a chemical peel of actors.
Something. So anyway, so Jamie Lee Curtis, the studio didn't want her because she had been making horror movies and they were like, that's all she does. And then
she has no range. People are one-dimensional.
Exactly. So
Paper
Landis
Mario
wanted her, and she said that this movie changed the trajectory of her career. Obviously.
She was like a Pong piece.
Because it was something new. So she didn't just get pigeonholed into horror. So then she went on to make all kinds of movies.
That would have definitely been interesting if Jamie Lee Curtis would have just been a horror scream queen.
Yeah. And that's it. I love the movie True Lies.
Yeah.
I love that
it's
movie.
a good movie.
She was great. Okay, so
she would have never got to Activia.
No. I mean, hello. She needs to thank Trading Places for her Activia deal.
Activia.
Though I don't think she does that anymore.
No.
Okay. Here's my last one, I think. Did you know, people, that this is a Christmas movie? And in Italy, they watch this movie. This is like, here, I feel like they play, what's that Christmas movie?
Simply having a wonderful Christmas time.
That terrible song. No, not that.
The stupid keyboard.
A Christmas Story.
Yes.
That movie plays like nonstop here.
You shoot your eye out, kid.
Right. So I think this is like that kind of movie in Italy. It's like their big Christmas traditional movie to watch. Which is so interesting.
You shoot your eye out.
I guess it's a Christmas movie because he's Santa and it's happening near Christmas.
Near Christmas. Yeah, that's true.
So
it's all true.
Oh, I forgot my other one. I said that was my last one, but I have another one.
My grandpa.
So here's the good one. Those were all good, but this one is interesting.
These were trash. Here's the good one. You're like the opening comic. You're like, okay, who's ready for some comedy? Like, what were you doing the last 10 minutes?
Okay. Sorry. All right. This is another interesting
There
fact.
you go.
There is an Eddie Murphy rule in trading. Okay, so basically it's just...
Not just trading places, but in trading.
In trading. And I didn't realize until I looked this up, but it did not come around until... like 2010 when they started talking about insider trading, I guess. And they were like, yeah, we don't think that's really cool anymore. People with government knowledge to use that to trade. So we're going to make this law. Familiar? We're going to call it the Eddie Murphy rule because he referenced the movie. when they were coming up with this rule?
Probably some kid who watched the movie and then got older and then was thinking, that's crazy that they were able to do that. And I'm like, wait, but people can still do that.
Right.
It's always interesting.
So like 30 years later, this movie is being referenced. Because like at the end, I was definitely thinking like, wait a minute, they're all crooks. But it wasn't illegal then. So now that's a whole new spin because I'm like, oh, that was fine.
Yeah,
they were just doing working the system.
Well, yeah, you just do what you need to do to survive.
Get yours, I guess.
Since you're on that thing, I will say that this movie made me think that this is the original Big Short.
I guess so. Yeah.
It's not like as big of a short and as big, like it's not about crashing the stock market, but it's essentially like, we're going to dupe these other people who think they're duping people and make out with the money, even though a bunch of people are going to get screwed.
I know. Yeah, that I did feel bad about that because I was like, oh, y'all are messing over more than just those old guys.
It's funny when you're a kid and you watch a movie and you think, yeah, they won. Kind of like we talked about action movies. And you're like, wait a minute. But they crashed into 15 cars catching that guy.
There's no concept of collateral damage. Everyone's fine.
Right. A cop car drove through like a corner store, and now those people, like, they weren't insured for cop cars driving through it. It's like people's lives are ruined, and it was all to catch this one guy.
And it wasn't even for like that big a deal.
Right. Well, usually the guy's like a murderer or a diplomat that was a murderer. They're usually murderers. So you did catch a murderer, but you did like $17.5 million of damage to the city.
Right.
So
can I tell you that
lay it on me.
I had this idea of this movie. Like I said, I hadn't seen it. What was
your idea?
But my idea, this is not a big deal, but I thought it was in New York. I had no idea this was going to be in Philadelphia.
Well, everything's essentially in the 80s is in New York or Chicago. So.
Right. But I read that it was set in Philadelphia because it was being focused on like money and stuff. I don't remember. It was something about being in the place that symbolizes
the mint, the Philadelphia Mint.
Yeah, like symbolizes where the country, country being built up and like stuff
where
like that.
Wealth begins.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the movie they said we did build the stock exchange, which is New York, but whatever.
Right.
That's probably another reason why you thought it was in New York, because it's about money.
And yeah. I just picture all that in New York.
I thought the beginning was pretty cool. How it shows the disparity of wealth and like the differences between the two people.
Oh yeah.
That happened in something else we watched at the beginning. Was it Blindspotting? Blindspotting, something like that. Was showing like the two different sides of the same city.
You're right.
So yeah, it was interesting that the movie did that, and it's interesting, kind of just like Do the Right Thing, where as you watch it as an adult, like you were saying, like as a kid, you're just like, wow, they won, they got over on the bad guys, and then you're like, wait a minute, they also were like cheating the system. But it's not a big deal because you're a kid and there's either good or bad, and that's not it. There's nothing in between. But yeah, I thought that beginning was cool, kind of setting everything up. And I think you mentioned that the whole first hour is a setup.
Yeah, this movie sets up for an hour, but it didn't feel like a long, slow, arduous march to the plot line.
Yeah.
It was like fun.
Yeah.
And then we paused it for something.
Bathroom
break probably. And I realized we'd already been an hour in. I was like, oh, wow.
I will say, I think the first hour or so is the best part of the movie, which I think to me, that's a personal thing. I'm an origin story type person. So once we get to Iron Man 2, I'm like, it's fine.
Right.
Right. I'm like, I want to see the build up and how people get to where they are. I love documentaries and, music documentaries where it's like, this is how I, got famous or whatever. So then once they're famous, I'm like, you're boring.
I never thought about that. You do love documentaries, and now you're talking about how much you love origin stories, and that makes so much sense that would go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
I love origin stories too. I do like documentaries, but not as much as you. You just watch way more than I do.
That's right, because I'm about that life.
Yeah, you educate me a lot.
That's right. I'm an educator, literally.
You are.
Yeah, so I think as an adult, it was interesting to kind of look at this because I never really thought of it. I think I knew it, but I never thought of it as a Prince and a Pauper story. And I never, like, I got the race and racist jokes and things like that, but I never really thought how strong this movie talks about race. And I kind of got the social class thing. I think I got it because obviously Coleman and the house that Lewis lived in and him losing everything, but just how much it was a commentary about how if you have, you have, and if you don't, you don't. And if you're connected, you're good. And if the system flips on you, you're out. It's like, it doesn't matter. And if the system says, we're going to hire this con man black guy, like, you can't do anything about it. It's just like, I think it's a kind of a reality of the times. It's always been, because this is from the 80s, of how race and class issues are still a problem in the world, essentially. But it's kind of like been going on for a long time. But I thought I see that more clearly now. Like, wow, this is a really good social commentary movie that is kind of just taking us, oh, that's funny, that joke, and then and then this thing. And
well, there was the scene where he gets arrested in the beginning, and I was thinking about that scene, how I guess that was like, it might have been funny. Yeah. And like, was that scene funny? Did you laugh like when you were younger?
When I was a kid, yeah.
You thought that scene was funny and racing around and all the gun, like 52 guns pulled out or whatever. Right. I just felt like in the moment when that scene happened, I was like, I don't like this. I was like, I don't like this at all. It's not funny. Because it's it's so. I guess it's always been of the times, but it's so prevalent in front of mind right now. Right. I was just like, move along, keep going. Like, I don't like that.
Like, I think it's funny on a level where you're just kind of like, it's like silly and ridiculous, and especially like who Eddie Murphy was at the time, just like his silliness throughout the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But I think the thing for me, like watching it the second time, was just how, even on a class level, but definitely on a race level, how that just them bumping into each other became this huge thing. Yeah. It was just like, oh, hey, sorry. And it's like, hey. Yeah. And it's like, once you have someone else's possessions in your hand and they just start saying something, it's kind of like, it's kind of like in Curb when Larry David went to get the pigs in the blanket. And I forgot what he had. The lady thought she was already like, he was already saying like weird stuff to her, and then he's like, give me the pigs in the blanket. I want them. And he tries to grab the pigs in the blanket off of the tray. Yeah. And then the lady moves and he grabs her boob, and then they're both looking, and he's holding like it's scared. She's looking, and he's just kind of like, So it's like, once you have possession of somebody else's stuff, when someone says help or scream or scream, someone says scream,
help, scream,
caw. You look like you're a criminal. So, it obviously was not going to work out for him, because you had a race and a clash, race and a class clash. Yeah. I didn't mean to say clash, but it worked into it. And then that whole thing just kind of like went south.
That just escalated. It's one of those like, that escalated quickly.
Right.
But like, it was all, what's his name? Lewis?
Yeah.
Lewis sent that whole snowball rolling.
Right.
Like with his, okay, so here's the thing with Lewis. Because I was thinking about this movie as a whole. Uh-huh. This movie was not a movie about people discovering new morals or learning a lesson or any, there's no redemption story really, right? I
think they learned some lessons.
Really? I feel like nobody came out of this different. They just came out rich.
Look, here's the lessons.
The old guys went to jail. They didn't learn nothing. Or I don't know. They just got poor.
Well, he learned that his heart wasn't good.
Right.
But no.
And then the other guy just ended up with money on the beach.
No. So this is what Lewis learned. Lewis learned that
he could love a hooker?
learned. Well, no. But he learned obviously that money wasn't everything. But he really learned who his friends really were, and really who would actually love and care about him for who he was.
I guess he learned that from Ophelia.
Ophelia took him in, and she obviously told him it was a business transaction, but you could see she was becoming at least caring towards him. That she was making him soup, and when he came back drunk, she was like, happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, Louis, and blah blah blah. So nobody else was doing that. His friends weren't doing that. His fiance moved on in like a day and a half,
right, half a second,
with that other guy. And so he really learned who's really cares about him.
He loved Ophelia because that she was taking care of him, because he was getting something from her.
That's how things start.
I know.
That's how all things start.
Okay. All right. I'll give you.
You can't say every.
Inch on that one.
I'm saying you can't say that every relationship, whether business, personal, or otherwise, has to start with just like, we were having a good time and we liked each other. Like, that's not how everything works.
All right.
And then Billy Ray, he learned. What did he learn? Well, one thing he actually. He learned, this is a bad and a good thing. He actually learned how the other side thinks in a way. So when Louis came in, when tried to plant the drugs on him, and he was essentially saying what every person's been saying on the news lately, and what most rich people say, which is, if they're acting like this, they deserve what they get, and blah 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 blah. And he got to see how easily, and this is the thing that I put of like, which was sad, how easily you can become so judgmental. It's like you get some money, and then next thing you know, you're like, oh, these people.
He did change very quickly.
Yeah. But the funny part of it is because, so he was also a thief, and he was also conning people, right? And he didn't really, in a way, know how to like earn money and what things are kind of worth. So like when he was messing with that vase, and he broke it, and they found out it was $35,000, and then he had that party, he brought all these people back, and then he was like, which was one of my favorite lines, and I say this a lot when we have parties in my head, and sometimes I'm like, hey, that rocks for Persia. You start realizing when you get money and you have things, like when you lived at your parents' house or whatever, you did backflips on the couch, and you would just spill stuff and be like, I don't know why you're yelling at me.
Right.
And then when you actually have money and you have something that's in your name, you realize, oh, snap, like I need to take care of this.
Appreciate the value.
Right. As opposed to when he was just like, scamming people, he didn't really think about like what people had to do to get that money. And obviously the Dukes were way, way rich, but he was scamming regular people. And those people work really hard for what they do. And so essentially they were kind of like, hey, this rug is from Persia to him. So I think he learned like the value of a buck. I don't know. But I think that's kind of like what I got that they kind of learned.
Okay.
But, overall they did essentially just kind of like move through the thing.
Right.
But I'm just saying,
I feel like they came out with different perspectives, but I don't know that they changed.
Yeah, that wasn't like a fundamental. It's not like they said we're going to start an endowment. We're going to start an endowment and a scholarship fund.
Like
for,
Louis was still just a rich dude on a yacht.
Right.
But now he has a girlfriend.
But I think he would be. I still think he would be a little bit more sympathetic and
maybe
less of a jerk.
A little bit.
And less of a 14-year-old. Dude wisping his hair out of the way with his head.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Mom!
All these rich guys were just... The girlfriend or the fiance was the worst.
I loved her.
Worst.
She looked like Glenda the Good Witch.
I don't know what
ruffles.
that outfit was, and her like 12-year-old whining. I couldn't. It was a mess.
That lady who played that character was amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing about this movie.
Louis, mommy. That's just mommy will be so. And what is this like affectation these rich people have, like these, or rich 80s movie people, like this, like half British, not quite, like we think this is how we're supposed to sound. Like,
well, I think that goes back funny. To like we're gonna show you British people we're better than you by being you, essentially.
We're gonna build our own castles and have our own butlers,
and then we'll hire British people to be our butlers.
Right? Yeah. Mommy.
Oh, that's the thing I was gonna say. 80s movies have the best ancillary characters.
Yeah.
Like best decade I can think of. Like every person they hire to the T is like right you never will see that person again.
No.
And you were like, that person was amazing for that role.
The best and the worst all at the same time.
It's like they're like, they hire this 72-year-old lady to just look at the character and be like, huh? And you're just like, that was hilarious.
Who's the guy that just said, yeah, in the jail? The big dude.
I forgot I was going to look him up. It wasn't Bubba.
No.
Steven, whatever. I almost said Bubba Sparks. But yeah, that guy was amazing. I remember when I was a kid, we would do that. Like somebody'd say something.
Yeah.
Go,
yeah.
And then the other guy, I think was in Marked for Death or something like that. I can't remember. Or was he in Candyman? I can't remember. But yeah, that guy with the jive turkey talk.
Yeah, I don't even know how to find. Like the IMDb is like, I have no idea.
Order of appearance.
It's just this big black guy. Is that Ron Taylor?
Big black guy. Oh my goodness.
Oh wait, there's Ron Taylor who played Big Black Guy, and then there's James D. Turner who played Even Bigger Black Guy.
Oh my goodness.
I think James D. Turner might be the even bigger guy.
Yeah, the taller dude. Because the one guy was big but not tall.
He doesn't have a photo on his IMDb. The other guy does.
Bummer.
Let's see what he's up to. Oh yeah. Ron Taylor was the wider dude that actually got to speak.
What's interesting?
Oh, he died too. I mean, everybody in this movie is dead.
I hope Eddie Murphy didn't die while we're recording this. So with the bump, I feel like when they bumped into each other was almost like a Freaky Friday. Like where like, I wish I was older. I wish I was younger. I feel like when they bumped into each other was that like moment where it's solidified, like they're switching places.
Right. Oh, did you notice? Speaking of that, okay, so the movie starts out when we see Eddie Murphy, he's on his knees pretending he's a injured vet or whatever.
I think I know where you're going.
And then he's like begging for money and yada, yada, yada. And then later, once the switch has happened and like Lewis has now lost all his money, he's outside the bank. Oh, this is when he has met Ophelia. He falls to his knees and now he's on his knees like crawling. And begging and like, help me, don't leave me, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually she's like, get up. Come on. But I was like, oh, he's on his knees too. He's
at the lowest point.
I see you trading places. Who did this? Landis would be in charge of that.
Well, I don't know. You never know if it's writing or directing or
whoever did this. I see you.
Whoever the person is. What's interesting is that like as a kid, I didn't really notice the difference in the two brothers. I just thought they were two brothers that did a dollar bet that were mean. But it was like I don't remember which one's Mortimer and which one's non-Don Amici. He was reading a magazine and it's kind of funny to talk about like how media and the times influence like our thinking. Because, like phrenology was a thing for a while. And like we go through these Freudian things. And so he was reading all this stuff about pretty much nature versus nurture, what we call it now.
Yeah, one was reading a science journal and the other one was reading the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah. And so the non-Don Amici guy, he's like, I think that, it's about like how you essentially nurture. I forgot what he was saying. Yeah. And then he was like, no, he's Lewis is great because he's, it's in his blood. And this is who he was born as.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it started. And I knew as a kid, like I in my head, I guess as a kid, I just thought, oh, these mean old guys just placed a bet for no apparent reason, but just to be mean. It's still obviously literally no apparent reason, but to be mean. But not really understanding like the logic behind their weird experiment.
Yeah, it was awful.
The other awful thing about it is, why would you do this experiment for one to your grandniece's fiance? Right. I know it's very removed, but your grandniece's fiance, and then do it at Christmas time.
Oh, right.
Like,
dang.
Christmas time or the dude's birthday. I'm like, come on. It's like, those are the two times you're probably like, you know what, we should wait till January. Like, I at least got let go from a job after I got back from a trip. And then did I get let go from a job right before? I think it was right after Thanksgiving. So it was like, they at least let me have a good Thanksgiving and then come back and let me go from a job. I was laid off. I was a good worker. But yeah, I was just thinking about that. I was like, that's weird.
This movie was definitely, I wrote down like, I was like, this is like, it's a comedy, but also I feel like I'm watching one of those like dystopian society movies, or like where the rich people hunt, like let the people into a field and they like shoot at them and hunt them and stuff. Like that's how evil these guys felt, even though this was like a comedy and like it didn't feel like a heavy movie. But then if you like really look at it, you're like, dang, these guys were straight up villains.
Right, ruthless.
Yeah.
And then for one, I remember just as a kid, I was like, $1? Right. Wow, like that's And it's funny in the setup. It's funny that he tells the guy, that one of the servants, he's like, "Oh, don't I don't want you to think I forgot about you and your Christmas bonus." And he was like, $5. Oh, I can go to the movies by myself. And it's just
half of that's for me.
Oh yeah. That's just that's for me. Gosh. So it's like you guys together put in each put in $2.50 for this whole thing. So yeah, it just sets up how like villainous these dudes are and how they don't see that the people working for them, like if they didn't do what they did, they pretty much wouldn't be able to exist and be able to like live their lives.
Right.
And then also the money that they made, obviously from we see when they work when Beeks comes into the Beeks? Mr. Beeks? No.
That sounds right.
Yeah. It just sounded weird when I said it. I was like, Beeks. When he comes into play, they see that they do, they break the Eddie Murphy rule before it's a thing. So we know that they're like dirty and underhanded and they're getting a lot of money and they're not like paying their people. And also there's a joke. Oh yeah. Because some of these people look like they're getting paid a lot of money. And he goes, well, we can't get around minimum wage. Right. And I'm like, that's totally a Mr. Burns, like Smithers and Mr. Burns. Like, well, sorry, we can't pay them minimum wage.
Well, that's what we have to do.
But yeah, I was like, man, these guys are pretty hardcore. And like, I feel like the Duke brothers are also kind of, because they talked about, what did they talk about? They talked about an opera or something that this, who is it? Minty was talking about this might be based on an opera. And, we were talking about Prince and the Pauper, but I also feel like it's kind of like Greek mythology from what I halfway slept through in high school, where the Duke brothers are kind of like the gods, kind of just toying
like puppeteering.
Toying with the humans.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it'd be fun. And what if we switched these roles of these guys? And then we told this one guy, like, we're going to exalt you for no reason. And the other guy, we're going to like turn him into trash. And so I was like, oh, these Duke brothers are like kind of insane.
Yeah. And they had I didn't realize this movie was so, because they literally looked at Billy Ray. Billy Ray. Valentine.
Not Cyrus.
No. Like their start off, their baseline was like, this guy is nothing.
Right.
This human being has no value
right.
at all. So, kind of like, I'm going to show that you can turn him into something. Right. You can give him money and he will become something or whatever.
And that's what Crispin Glover was railing against at the end of Back to the Future.
Okay.
Money. Like at the end of the thing, Marty's family is rich. And so since they're rich, that obviously means they're better. Right. And obviously mean they're doing well.
So the thing is though that they are wealthier than anybody anywhere. And they are awful trash human beings.
Right.
So like money has nothing. I mean, not nothing, but you can have all this money and you can still be a trash human being.
Well, yeah.
But that's their nature thing, because obviously that was like deep seated in their family and their upbringing. Right. And they just continued on with it. And that was whatever.
Right. And I think that's the interesting thing about it is like nobody in like, it's kind of like who is without sin cast the first stone. Like nobody is without extreme faults. Like Billy Ray is a con artist. Lewis is a yuppie snob.
Investor or whatever.
What's her name is, she seems to be doing like, what she can. I guess she's not hurting anybody. She's the one hurting people the least.
She was very smart. She had her plan. She had her savings goals. She had a whole retirement plan.
Yeah,
so
it's like
she was doing the best out of everybody. Probably
Billy Ray is messing people up. The Dukes are messing people up. Lewis is messing people up, and she's providing pleasure for people. So it's like, but everybody has their
Coleman even. I love Coleman. So Coleman and Ophelia.
But Coleman was complicit.
Coleman was complicit.
Silence is, what do they say? Silence is sin. Silence. I don't know what the theme's been lately.
But yeah, that was the thing. I was like, oh man, Coleman, like he's complicit in this, and like that was like cold.
But you saw his face though when he closed the door.
Did feel bad.
He was like,
so he had remorse, but he still went along with it, and that's kind of like when you're caught, like when people are caught in those situations,
right?
And they're like, I don't have a way out of this. This is like my livelihood in my life, and I'm more fearful for myself than I have care for you, I guess.
The thing is, I feel for Coleman because unlike most people in the world or in the United States who could whistle blow or whatever, he literally has nothing. Like if you whistle blow at a job and you get fired, you may lose your house, but at least you have a house. If Coleman was to lose his job, he has nothing.
Right.
And he probably can't even get back to England.
And he's given his entire life to this. Like it seems
he's literally invested.
Right. He didn't seem to have a family of his own.
Right.
So he had literally invested his entire life into this family. And so, yeah, I get that. There's that whole, like, I can't lose everything.
That's interesting. I wonder if Coleman had been his butler or whatever since he was, like, young.
Not his butler, because the old dudes own this house. I think this was like the, no.
Well, I know they said
it was their house.
Remember when he got arrested, they said your parents, if they were alive today or something, they would be... So I'm like, what was that story? Like, I never thought that as an adult. As a kid, like, wait, what happened to his parents? Like, were his parents had to have been rich, else that would have added to this. That wouldn't have made the story make sense because he would have been the pauper too.
That's true. He's
come from money somehow.
Money. Yeah. Actually, I want to know the origin stories of Lewis and Billy Ray.
They should do a prequel with.
They should do a prequel.
I don't even know. I don't know any teens anymore.
The prequel or prequel?
What? Prequel.
But so Coleman, the other thing too is the way Coleman reacted to Billy Ray saying thank you to him tells you also more about what his face's character,
Lewis, how
he's been treated,
how neglectful he was.
Yeah, and he was like so taken aback when he was thanked for doing something.
Yeah, because Billy Ray was cool. He was just kind of like, he's like. And so, retire. I learned this word from this movie. He's like, "You want to retire today, Sarah?" And he's like, "Yeah, man. I think I'm gonna retire. Thanks, Coleman." Yeah. And I was just like, he just treated Coleman as like, "Hey, I know you're doing this job, but like, we're cool."
Right.
As opposed to, "Where's my shoes, Coleman?"
Right. And he was like more of like, "Yeah, you're doing stuff for me to hang out too."
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Coleman. I think the beginning. Both of their flips are the best parts of the movie. Like when Eddie Murphy gets bailed out and he's just kind of like, what? He's
I love when he was out front of the station and he was just kind of like when you don't really know what to do next. Like I've done this in quarantine. I'll finish doing a task, like finish dishes or whatever. And then I've said it several times to you. I walk into the living room and I just say, I don't know what to do with myself now. And I just kind of like turn a couple of different directions and look around. But he does that. He comes out of the police station and we're assuming he's homeless, I guess. He was begging. We don't really know. And then he just kind of like turns left and walks 2 steps and then turns right and walks 2 steps. And it's kind of just like, what do I do with myself?
Yeah.
Now what?
Well, yeah, it's either he was homeless or if you remember when Lewis goes to Ophelia's part of town, which I'm assuming Billy Ray is from, it's a long bus ride. Mm-hmm. And so he probably got out in downtown Philly, but he lives in the black part of Philly, essentially. He's like, and he's just like, I don't have any money to get home. And then the Dukes come in and he's like, he asked them if they're gay, the typical Eddie Murphy 80s thing. And he's like, are you trying to trick me? And he's like, no, we bailed you out. And then he's like, we've got scotch. And it's like, Don Amici's character, like it was funny because his character kept playing
like a carrot, like come over here.
Right, but Don Amici's character kept playing into the stereotypes that he thinks that this guy will want. He's like, well, he's a black guy. He's young. He's going to want scotch. He's going to want so he's still like, I don't really know.
Like, get out of here.
And then he gets in, but I think it was just funny when he, because obviously he's a thief and also he doesn't know. And I think that's a part of his desperation. He doesn't know like when it's all going to end. So he's like, oh, do you want scotch? He grabs the scotch. He's like, you want a cigar? And he grabs all the cigars and he's just holding them to his chest. Like, you're not taking this from me. You offered it to me and you can't take it away.
It's mine now.
And I think that's interesting because a lot of other movies and people we've met and different things that we've learned probably as adults is like, that's a product of their environment.
Yeah.
Like people, when, people eat really, not everybody, but some people eat really fast and like they grab stuff and you're just kind of like, what's going on? And you're like, oh, like that might be something where they didn't know if they were going to have any more food. So like, I got to get food now. Yeah. And so, he was like that. He was just like, I'm going to grab this.
And when he was walking around the room taking like the candles.
He's like, so this is mine, right? I could just like.
Sticking it in his pockets. And
he's like, oh, and I think he was also, it was like, real, but he was also testing them. Like, if you're saying this is mine, like I'm gonna walk out this door with it.
Stick this in my pocket,
and you can't do anything. But I think it was funny. Like, I think it's also kind of like a black dude thing. Like when you see another black dude, you try to, and you see something weird, you like talk to him and like, do you experience this much? But he had the cigars in his hand in the car, and then he goes and he's like, "Say, brother," he's like, "Are they joking?" He's like, "No." Nope. He's like, "This is real." He's like, "Mm-hmm." He's like, why are they doing this? I don't know. He didn't speak, but that's essentially what he said. So it was just kind of funny because I've done that before. Like, yo, are these people cool? And like, yeah, they're cool. I'm like, all right, man. All right.
Like, all right, I'll relax a little.
And then Lewis, like his whole thing, I forgot they did the marked $50 bill, which seems like so real and so fake.
This was so elaborate, this whole setup to like knock him out.
Right, it's like...
They could have just fired him.
You think... I
guess they didn't want to look like it was coming from them.
Well, it was just weird because... Well, they needed disgrace because they even said so. Not if he's just fired, but if he's disgraced and he loses his
girlfriend and everything.
You know what also? This is kind of a Job story as well.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go, Bible nerds.
He did not pass the test.
Like at the end of it, it's like Job married a hooker. You're like, what? Okay.
Everything escalated so quickly in this movie because he was like trying to pawn his watch and he was like, oh, a gun.
Yeah, there you go. But no, it was funny because the whole setup. Okay, you have this institution that he says is going on for like 200 years or whatever amount of time, right? Yeah. And it would be, I think it would be very weird to just quickly pull that up. Like they were like, there's been something, there's a thief among us and it's happened the first time in 200 years and this, and everybody's like,
and they said
I don't
not
believe
even just
this.
Not any thief, the worst kind of thief.
And the funny thing is
because they stole money.
They built him up right before they tore him down. Mm-hmm. They're like, not like the one that Lewis caught. And then he walks over. It's kind of like the video of Bill Clinton hugging Monica Lewinsky, where you're like, well, that hug, it's a little weird. Like if you saw it beforehand, you're like, I guess they know each other. And then afterwards, you're like, oh, that looked really
know each other.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, so you're sitting in a chair 100 feet from me on a platform. You get off the platform, you walk 2 people over from me, and then you quickly walk over to me, and then just flip money over, and then how did you know it was me out of 150 people squished? Those dudes were squished next to each other. Yeah. Like social distancing, not at all.
Like put your left hand on the shoulder and your right hand in the pocket.
That's the same thing when we get in middle school. Remember the teacher didn't want to grade your test and they'd say, hand your test to the person to the right of you. It was just that. So you there's no way you could cheat.
Yeah, but it was just a super weird way.
Yeah, but if they said empty your own pockets, you could like slide it. So if somebody empties your pocket for you.
But like you're saying, it was so unnecessary because even at the beginning he said, we had a witness. Somebody saw it happen. So this was all just like the theatrics of the bougie club. Like it's all just like cloak and dagger in the middle of the day. We're a bunch of bored white men.
board certified.
Trying to be interesting.
Dramatic. But yeah, and then when they book him, and I don't know what what's his name, Beeks, said to that cop, but when they booked him, he like whispered something, and then they were like, take off your clothes, and he's like, do you know who I am? And it was just like this funny thing when I wish I could see when a lot of these people get in for inside trading, or when the guy doing all the Ukraine stuff went to jail, you know.
You want to see the humiliation?
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of funny. But you know, it's just like people think just because they're rich or they have a title, when they commit crimes, that they don't have to do what other people have to do.
Right.
It's like,
it's
no,
all
you
the same
gotta
process, sort of.
Yeah, once you get in there, you might be able to get like lobster and stuff brought in, but you know, at the beginning, it might be a little bit difficult. And yeah, and then when he gets out,
he was like, I have witnesses. Did you all hear what he just
said to me? Yeah, it's like, these people have been through the system so many times. They do not care about you being rich and being treated badly once.
Whose clothes did he leave with?
I think it was kind of like when it's like when you wear a crop top in middle school, or a dress that doesn't come down with your arm straight down, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And they put you in the WHS long johns.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the hoodie.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it was. It was just some pimp that had died.
Right.
And they took his clothes. They're like, there's some dead pimp clothes if you want them.
Yeah, because they had to strip him of all his like wealthy.
Yeah.
What is it? Identity.
Oh yeah, but what did happen to his clothes? Because he still had his watch.
Yeah, I don't know how he ended up with his watch still. Maybe he didn't take it off.
You can't not take your watch off.
No, he did take it off because he put it in the envelope.
That's what I'm saying.
Because
like,
remember, he gets his wallet back.
Yeah.
I thought the guy was going to take all his credit cards. They probably didn't want to give him back because those still made him feel.
Oh, maybe that's what
wealthy.
Beeks whispered in, like, make him look really destitute.
Right.
Because when he got out,
you really need to embarrass him,
right,
and put him through it.
When he got out, I love that. There's so many funny quotes when the fiance is sitting waiting for him on those hard 1980s wood benches.
Yeah.
And that guy sits down. Boom. No, he moves. That lady's sleeping on her.
He
pushes her out of the way and then sits in between her. Hefty dude. Is that your purse? Yes.
That's a nice purse.
That's a nice purse. I was like, this dude, I don't know who that dude is. I don't know if he's some vaudeville actor from who knows when.
And he just kept that stare. He just stared at her.
I don't know if he was on 16 episodes of, what's that show your dad watched? Gunslinger or Shoot Ranger, Rifleman. I don't know if he was on Rifleman, but that dude just came in there, did his thing, and he was out.
Rifleman or Rifleman?
Rifleman, I think.
Rifleman.
Riflemans.
Okay.
Rifle persons.
Yeah.
Riflers.
People
who dig through bags. But yeah, it was just like, it's so funny. And then, you know, he's like, and he's like, oh, Penelope, it's great that she's like, don't make a scene. And it's so funny how.
What does she care what anybody in that room thinks?
Everything with these rich people and people who like care so much about their image, they're always talking about making a scene. Like, don't embarrass me, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, dude, this person's son just died. And you're all like, stop crying so loudly. You're making me look bad.
What did he say? What did the guy say? The guy who moved in on the girl like immediately. And he went to the country club or whatever. And he was asking them for money. And he was like, boy, I think it was a really bad taste of you to come here and embarrass everyone like this.
Right.
And blah, blah, blah. And you were like, who are they? They're all sitting together.
They're all sitting together and no one else is in the room.
No one else around.
They look like they were in a private room or like in a room in the corner.
After their barbershop quartet. And
they embarrassed themselves with their what was that? The B Sharps
80s
rendition.
Women characters too. Like, they were so impressed by the lamest stuff. Like, he said my name. Swoon, marry me. Let me have your babies.
Yeah.
I was like, good grief.
To bear you a son. Yeah,
they were stupid, and then they didn't wear bras. No one wore a bra in the 80s.
You don't need bras in the 80s.
I guess.
It was the post-women's lib, I guess. Let them be free the tatas.
They were very free.
Everybody was free.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the time or mainly just the directors and writers being like, we want boobs.
Right.
But yeah, and so then, you know, he's like, He's like, what was it? She goes, you're a heroin dude. It's like, it was angel dust.
Yeah, it was angel dust, and I wasn't dealing.
Yeah, and he's like, those men wanted to have sex with me. Like, and then the Beaks just like asks Ophelia like, hey, could you blah blah blah, and she's just like, oh, and that's the funny thing because she might have at least taken him home and maybe ditched him later. And possibly, I don't think she would have helped him sort everything out.
She looked sympathetic at least a little bit and until Ophelia came up.
Ophelia came up and it was like, uh-oh. She said the word dime bag, so that means he's dealing and he's pimping.
And Ophelia was making out with him and everything. Right. So she's like, oh, they've got something
Here's
going
a message to everyone. If someone starts kissing you, just pull way back.
Or so push them down.
Well, it depends. I don't want to cause anybody to get hurt, and then you're on manslaughter charges.
Okay, never mind. Allegedly, does that work? Allegedly.
Y'all can't
maybe
just duck down as they're trying to kiss you.
Put your hand up.
Move your hand over your mouth like a confessional being closed.
I don't know how people in movies always get made out with against
their will. I don't know either. I feel like that did that ever happen to me?
Situation.
I can't remember if that's happened to me. But yeah, it is very surprising. I think it has happened to me, and I'm like, huh? But then I'm like, especially if someone's right next to you that you care about, like your girlfriend or your boyfriend, like pull away as fast as possible.
But you have hands. You can put hands on shoulders and push away.
Yeah, but you may grip wrong, and it looks like you're putting your hand on your shoulder and enjoying it.
Open palms. Open fingers.
No. What you do with your left hand, you put it on their cheek just gracefully, and then your right hand put it behind their head, and that's how you get them.
Like you're making out.
I know. Like I was trying to push her away, and then I turned my head, and then I turned my head some more, and then yeah.
But I don't know. I've never been surprise kissed, but
I've surprise kissed you.
Yeah,
and you were like,
nuh-uh.
Yeah, I do it all the time. With my mouth open, I come with that.
Well, because
with the teeth.
That's the gross ones. Like, you slobber everywhere.
Like, Mama.
What is that?
It's Goonies.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
like, I don't want to kiss Sloth. So, is that his name, Sloth?
I think so.
I just realized his name for like the super cute little animal.
That's right. He's very slow. And sloths love Superman t-shirts. Yeah. So those beginnings are so good. I think those are the best things. There was so much, because that's the theme of 2020 and 2019. There was so much gaslighting. It was insane. And I think that's what drove him. So when Lewis sees Billy Ray in the car, and then Billy Ray sees him, and it's like Lewis is now in the roles that he used to be in, being driven by Coleman. And then Lewis is in a taxi cab
with a hooker,
and he's just like, "That's my car, Coleman." And he's like, "That's the dude, man. That's the dude."
Yeah.
And I thought it was cool how they ended up working together, like how they just ended. They kind of pieced things together, and when Billy Ray kind of finds out like what's going on.
Well, yeah, when Billy Ray overheard everything in the background.
Right.
Oh, because the old guys are like classic villains in a movie where they tell the whole plot,
right?
And then they're like, "Oh, no, I have to kill you," or whatever.
I will say they did a good job of trying to make sure no one was in the bathroom, but they didn't. The classic thing, they didn't open the stall doors. You got to open the stall doors. Yeah,
you can't just start talking.
That's right.
But I was impressed. These old men, like this old guy, climbed on the floor.
He was working out.
But I wrote that down. I was like, "Oh, classic villain." Telling he gave the whole plot at the very beginning of the movie, and then when they confessed everything to like, you guys know what you were doing, why did you say all of that out loud?
We do that all the time. We'll like say the things that we both already know out loud. It's like, why do we do it? Just to be like, yeah, man, we're totally gonna do X, Y, and Z. It's gonna be so great when we go to Paris.
It was just funny to me. It was very classic villain.
Right. Yeah, but I think that gaslighting is what drove him to do all the crazy things he did. Like when he got drunk, he dressed up in the Santa outfit.
Oh gosh,
stole the salmon.
Oh, that's one of my favorite things, is putting the salmon in his Santa suit. Not so much when he goes to eat it on the bus.
Well, yeah, he gets all fake beard, no salmon.
I wonder how much, like, that looked like that was a fun role.
Yeah.
To just be like drunk Santa that just ends up growling. It's like the rest of the movie.
I just wonder what his motivation was, because it seemed like they were like, be drunk, but I feel like he was like, I'm going to be a zombie demon, like a drunk zombie demon, because he would just growl, and then he had like these weird like movements, like
the way he was walking.
Yeah.
He was like leading really with his stiff feet. Like,
yeah.
He wasn't walking upright.
And and it's funny, it's sad, funny, whatever. It's like, as an adult, you're like, oh, that sucks, but it's also funny when you talked about how he got a gun for the watch or whatever, and then so he tries to pull a gun on them at the Christmas party.
Yeah.
And I forgot the lady, the cop, and the other people walk in, and that one lady's like, oh crap! She tries to get out, but the door closes, and I'm like, once again, I don't know who that lady is. I don't know if she's ever acted before or ever, if she was on Guiding Light, but she was like perfect for that role at that one moment in time. But so then he doesn't get what he wants, and he has to leave. He goes back to Ophelia's place, and then it starts raining. A dog pees on him, and he takes the gun, tries to shoot himself in the head. It doesn't work, and he throws it, and the gun goes off. And I'm like, that's classic. Like, I feel like that was done in like Looney Tunes or something, but that's like classic kind of Looney Tunes.
Felt like. And somebody, were you talking about? They said that this movie was like an old, like a 30s story.
No, that was Minty.
Oh, okay. So, because I was reading that too, that they were saying that the script felt like an old 30s kind of a story and like that kind of thing. So like that
piece, is definitely kind of a it's like a Mel Brooks gag or something like that, like a Sid Caesar, all those type of things. But it, all that stuff's still funny. Like we all still laugh at that type of stuff. So I thought that was hilarious.
And the rain scenes too. Like it rained quite a bit, but like mostly when just Louis,
right?
Dan Aykroyd standing outside. He was getting rained on when he was standing outside that dinner. That was just the longest scene. It was like
the scene was great.
Everybody in there having the dinner and listening to Billy Ray give investing advice or whatever, and then it would cut to him just outside looking in the rain, and then back into the dinner, and he's all chit chatty with the investors and cracking jokes, and then back outside. So it was like it was a long scene, like the back and forth. It was pretty funny.
I think that scene was great because it kind of, and I think I've said this before, we were some period film we watched. I don't know if it ever got released or not, but for the people listening, if it was like or not, if when I know we don't, I'm gonna say we because I doubt that Warren Buffett's listening to this.
But hey, Warren Buffett.
Yeah, I'll come on the show anytime.
Yeah.
I don't have any ill will towards Warren Buffett, but in general, I'm just saying, like, rich people, we don't really like them. And we kind of think of them in a certain way, but that scene made me feel sad for rich people. It's kind of like when I watch Downton Abbey. Like, I kind of feel sad for some of them, just how they're stuck in the house all the time. They don't do anything. They can't go anywhere without somebody dressing them. They don't know how to take dumps and wipe their own butt.
They do get kind of locked into.
Right. Right. Yeah. The women can't do anything. Like if you're like, hey, I want to learn how to do metalworking, you can't do that. You're a woman, or you're just a dude who is an aristocrat, and you can't learn things that you want to learn.
Right.
And I felt that way about those people at the dinner because everybody's like asking Billy Ray a question, and then Billy Ray makes a joke about, you shouldn't invest in this, blah, blah, blah. And the way I look at your wife's pearls, you need all the money that you can get. And then nobody knows if he's going to laugh at it. Like no one takes it on their own initiative just to laugh and be like, that's funny. I don't care what anybody thinks.
They're
like,
to wait for permission.
Is that funny? Can I laugh, Mr. Rich Guy? And then Mr. Rich Guy's like, ha ha, that's funny. Everybody's like, ha ha ha, ha ha ha. And it's like, dude, this is so
That was a
stupid.
long pause too in that scene.
Right.
Like I feel like they use so many little details like that. Because normally, like, we're used to that kind of scene.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have that long of a pause.
Yeah.
And it felt like to your point, like that was just making it even more intense. So, but like, we're not allowed to laugh until this guy laughs. Hopefully this guy laughs. What's going to happen,
Because he was the stock market chairman or whatever,
he was the head
right?
of somebody.
Yeah. So there's like there's class inside of class.
That scene also really did a good job of setting up just how much trust and how much Billy Ray had risen.
Right.
Because he started to say something in the entire room, dining room, all 100 people.
Like, what do you think, Billy Ray?
Everybody stopped.
Right.
I was like listening to him.
They're like, did you know that he predicted the thing about the Kung Fu grip?
Right.
One of the great quotes. The one thing I like is that on the front it said where they were meeting, when Lewis got kicked out. It said Heritage Club since 1976 with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah.
And it was like they were about to like swindle him and then falsely bring in somebody else. It was like, that's all just a farce. What about character? Who's your favorite character?
I like Coleman.
Coleman was your favorite?
I think so. Yeah.
Mine was like I feel like Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd this sounds weird because the main characters shouldn't be the supports, but they're the ones that kind of hold the story together.
Yeah.
But they give the ability for like Coleman and Jamie Lee Curtis's character to flourish.
I like those two.
Because like you said, she was about her business. She knew what she wanted to do, but she was also kind.
Yeah.
So as the
she
Duke
was very layered for like
right.
what the character was.
Right. And she didn't have limited time, but compared to everybody else,
right.
You got to know about her very quickly. And she had plans, she had money set aside, and unlike the Duke brothers, she was willing to take a chance on some people. It was because what she asked for, like she wanted money in return. She was doing it for money, but there was no way that it was guaranteed she was going to get paid. So she was really just doing it on faith,
right?
That he was going to pay her back.
Yeah.
And she didn't have to do that. She could have just been like, eh. And then, she was strong-willed and she wasn't like the women in the country
like
club.
Other dumb girls.
Yeah, she had lived life and she knew who she was and what she wanted and she wasn't going to back down on that type of thing. So, that's why she was like my favorite character, because you kind of knew what those two characters were going to be. And though I love Coleman, she's the one. She was my first crush.
Oh.
I think. I don't remember. Something like that.
The one you can remember.
Yeah, one of the 70s.
The first I can remember.
The first I can remember crushes of old ladies.
Old ladies?
Well, she was old. I was like, when I saw this movie, I was like 6 or 7 or I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I saw this movie in the 80s. So
yeah, okay.
At best, I was 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, she was old. She was like 33.
Yeah.
And I was 9.
And you were little. Yeah.
But yeah, I think those two, which makes me think about the ending where everybody teams up, which was cool.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, that
was huge too, because Coleman, he was like, here's my life savings.
Right.
Everything I have, I'm entrusting to you to do well with
both
this.
of them.
She said that too, yeah.
But I think them just teaming up as, like, it was interesting because it was kind of like teaming up like an action movie, but
like
nothing at all.
Yeah,
it was like not at all. There wasn't the Rick and Morty like, hey, so and so, like, oh, what are you doing?
But they did have that whole bit on the train, and like it kind of.
But I'm saying there wasn't all this setup and like we're gonna go here and then we're gonna get on the train and then you'll come and like we didn't even know.
We didn't know what was happening.
Like when I was a kid, it wasn't like I watched it and I was like, oh, they're gonna switch briefcases and they just went into it. But I always find the end of the movie not being as like packed with hilarity and whatnot. I always found the end of the movie like, oh, okay, cool. Like this is kind of ending and it's a conclusion, but
it was it was a just desserts kind of an ending.
What does that mean?
Like they got what they deserved.
But I'm talking about the way that they did it, like the train scene and and all that. It was like not as powerful as the rest, all the scenes previously.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think it's funny, like as an adult, and then as time goes on, like it just seems like how offensive that whole train scene is.
Oh god.
It was like the Swedish people, Eddie Murphy playing an African guy, Dan Aykroyd in blackface, Jamaican.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And what's his name being a Scottish person? He was English. Actually, I don't know. I don't know the history of Scotland and England and all the possible turmoils. But, he was a Scottish drunk. So it's just like, even if you were the same color, it was still like, ooh, that's kind of... like,
yeah.
Okay. But it's like for the time, and then just thinking of it as a comedy, it's like, to me, it's still funny. Like, I don't know what you thought. Like, we'll start with the blackface. I don't know what you thought about it. Like, now. Well, you've never, you just saw it for the first time.
I just saw this for the first time, and I was like, oh, what? Why? Why? It looked terrible, too. Like, just like, what? Why did he do, like, I get he had to be disguised, but that was the best way to do it. Put on a mustache, like and a hat. Like, I don't know, that was weird. Some sunglasses. Just don't be
Homer?
in the room.
Who is this Homer?
That was a little bit painful.
I think
it was cringy. That's all I'll say. It was cringy for sure.
It's funny. I would love to see Twitter try to cancel Dan Aykroyd at this point, almost 40 years later. I don't know. When I was a kid, I saw it and I thought it was funny. I still think it's funny now. I mainly cringe for society. Like, when somebody does something that I think is funny and I know society won't think it's funny.
Right.
Like, so I think of it this way, and anybody's listening, don't use this for Fox News or Candace Owens. Like, see, there's a black guy who thinks blackface is fine. I do not. But, it was done in the 80s, and it is what it is. But I think part of it was, so let's, like, thinking from the writer's room, it's like, they know what each other look like, right? They've seen each other's face to face. So he can't dress up like himself. So how could he dress up? And it would be so insane. And one of the stupidest things to do is to dress up as a Jamaican to try to fool this guy into thinking that you're not Lewis. And I think from the writer's room, like, that would be hilariously stupid. Like, it was hilarious because it's offensive and then it's just dumb. And it's not like just because you put burnt charcoal on your face or whatever and put on fake dreadlocks that someone's not going to notice who you are when he was hired to, like, defame you.
Right.
It's like, that's the dumbest thing in the world to do. So I think from the writer's room, they were like, oh, that'll be funny. But I think also from the character's point of view, that's like how stupid they are. Like, because Billy Ray was not a great con artist. Like, he was trying to act blind, and like he couldn't walk. Right. He was saying they called him Agent Orange, which was something that, like, it burned the skin of not only Vietnamese people and Cambodian people, but also the actual soldiers were harmed and had neurological damage. So no person who served in Vietnam would be like, they called me Agent Orange. And then all the other things he said, he's like, I was stationed in Viet Cong, which I don't think is a thing. I think that's what they called the people that were fighting. So he didn't know what he was talking about. So I think, and then also Lewis is just a spoiled brat, so he has no knowledge.
Right.
And then why would any of the rest of them know how to do a heist? So it was just like the first thing they thought of, like, oh, it'd be great. Yeah, sure, blackface. And then I'll dress up as what I think is a Swedish woman, and they're like, no, you're German. And she's like, no, I'm Swedish. She's like, why are you having this argument in front of the person you're trying to? And then Eddie Murphy's character, like, why would you dress up as an African and then be swatting flies that aren't on an ad?
You're on a train.
As a kid, I thought that was funny, but as an adult, it's like, wait, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
It's like, if
that whole scene was just confusing to me. I was like, I don't understand why this is happening.
I think it showed.
I know they're trying to just distract him, and I get it. But
it just showed their stupidity, because I think even he knew, like, when everybody was coming in, he was like,
what's happening?
These people are fake. Like, I think he had an inkling from the beginning.
You think? I feel like he didn't get anything until
I feel like a little bit like, who are these people? And then like once the Germany thing happened,
switching the bags.
But I think once they had the confusion about the German, because he was like, why are you guys talking like each other? Yeah. But yeah, definitely. Obviously, once they switched bags, that was kind of the telling thing. And then the gorilla bit.
The gorilla bit actually is another casting. That guy who played Beaks was not the first choice. I don't remember who was, but he didn't.
Was it the guy who played Walter Peck? That would be hilarious.
I can't remember who it was, but he backed out when he learned what the ending of the movie was. That his character was going to be
sexually assaulted by a monkey, by a gorilla. Sorry, I don't want to offend monkeys. Monkeys are fine people. Right. Gorillas, savages.
He learned the ending of the movie and backed out.
He's like, I will not be the literal butt of a joke.
Yeah.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. His loss. He didn't get to be in a gorilla suit. But yeah, the ending is kind of like, oh, okay. But I thought it was the ending reminded me of how much the stock exchange makes no sense. And kind of like Billy Ray said, like, oh, y'all are just a couple of bookies.
The government gambling. That's what I've been saying this like forever. I'm like, but I don't understand this. This is just gambling. Like,
what's even weirder.
Vegas on Wall Street. Like, this is confusing.
I think, what was it? Was I watching Boardwalk Empire or something? And they were showing like 1920s. And they were writing on chalkboards, and I was like, what in the world is this? I'm like, the whole U.S. economy is based off of gambling on chalkboards.
Yeah.
Where any random person could just like, whoops.
It's confusing.
Just erase numbers.
Yeah.
But,
like even the story of how they were going to film, and they were filming during actual trading hour. I think it just said during, like you do. Like when you say words differently than I do. And I think I've picked that up. I said during the trading hours.
I didn't know I said it like that.
During the trading hours, but everybody got too distracted by Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy that trading actually stopped.
They ruined the U.S. economy for a minute, time.
Millions of dollars halted because they were in the room. So then they had to stop. But yeah, like the whole economy.
My grandpa
hit pause.
Yeah, stock market doesn't make sense. Now it's just run by robots.
It's bonkers.
Robots,
but it's still gambling.
No commission trades.
It's all still gambling.
Yeah, it is. It's funny because I don't know if this was deliberate, but when they were in the bathroom, and then the bell rang for everybody to come out, and they all came out together. That literally reminds me of when I would go to Belmont with my grandfather. Uh-huh. And it was just like that. It was like horses? The race would go. No, not the race. The people.
Oh.
Like the race would end, and then people, it was like sports, like halftime or whatever.
Yeah.
People go and like get the hot dogs, and then it's like, the race is about to start, and people just literally just scatter. Oh. And wow. It was just like another telltale sign of like, this is just gambling.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like the country's economy is run on just hunches and fears.
Yeah.
And, I heard from a guy that the oranges are going to...
goodness.
All right, man, whatever.
Right. That was so funny. It was frozen orange juice concentrate or whatever it was. So funny.
But yeah, it's just funny because it seems like you could, if you did the investigation yourself, you could try to tally up the state's information and get a federal number or a country number to get the estimates for the year, and then you would be able to guess at what price you should sell or buy the orange juice stocks at. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like looking at agricultural data or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's like Punxsutawney Phil. The states don't release the numbers. I don't know all that stuff, but it just seems like
access to all that.
Maybe an almanac would have helped them beat that a little bit easier or whatever.
These old awful men.
But yeah.
Well, I'm glad they ended up penniless.
Yeah, but they're coming back, or they were going to come back, but they probably both died before that happened.
Oh yeah.
In Coming to America. Maybe we'll watch that one soon.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
I think we could talk forever, but this is.
I feel like
been a minute
as
now.
soon as we sign off, I'm gonna be like, oh, what about that? Oh,
probably
a couple of things.
John Hamm.
I think John Hamm could have been Mr. Beaks, like nowadays if they redid it.
If they remade it.
And the two guys handling the monkeys, I was saying Andy Samberg and and Barry was the name. They would be that. Oh, did I say this already? I don't remember. This movie is like a comedy Black Mirror episode.
Oh.
Anyway.
Yeah, that kind of goes along with what I was saying. I feel like I'm watching a dystopian society show.
Right. It's like you wake up and things have flipped on you.
Yeah, like you could totally, if you just took out the jokes, like this could be a very dark movie.
That would be interesting. Somebody, please cut a Black Mirror episode or a Black Mirror teaser out of Trading Places. Yeah. That would be cool. By the way, I went to IREI today, everyone. And we're going to go camping soon. And we got one wheels.
Yeah, I just saw the boxes sitting next to me and I was like, how did we not talk about this at the beginning? We were chit-chatting about whatever randomness.
I've been not riding a one wheel for the last couple of hours just to, help you guys out.
Do this episode.
I've been sacrificing.
Whatever.
That's right.
It's been 3 weeks since we recorded an episode.
It's still a sacrifice.
But yeah,
I can never get this time back, Michelle.
Okay. Well, I enjoyed this movie and I'm glad we took the time to watch it.
I am too.
Now I get it when people said they loved this movie when we asked about their favorite Eddie Murphy movie.
Yep.
Though there's lots and I haven't seen them all, so I can't attest that this is the best one. I don't know.
What have you seen?
I've seen some Beverly Hills Cops.
Some Beverly Hills Cops?
Yeah.
Not 3, right?
I don't remember. I've maybe seen them all.
1 is great.
Yeah.
2 is good. 3 is a movie.
I have not seen all of Coming to America.
Maybe we'll watch that.
I've seen some of it.
Maybe we'll just do Eddie Murphy movies for the next 4 weeks. We do our Eddie retrospectica.
But I like this movie, so if you want to hop on the Facebook or Instagram, tell us why you like this movie.
Yeah, tell us.
Because people just said it was their favorite. Now,
one person said why they liked it. They said,
"Do tell."
Do tell.
While he's pulling that up, you guys, we said it already, but we have a Facebook page now. So if you're more Facebook than Instagram or Twitter, you can follow us there now too. And sometimes we do live episodes, and that's where they are.
Yep. And if you like one wheel stuff, follow us on IG. Josh Spoon, Shell Spoon.
Yeah. Shell_Spoon. I had to do an underscore.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My bad. What did they say? What'd they say?
Yeah, what'd they say, Josh? I don't even see the post.
Trading Places for the win. A cult and Christmas classic here in Italy. No matter where I am in the world, I will watch it. Wait, weren't you just talking about Italy?
That's what I was talking about. But
wait,
that doesn't tell me about the movie.
Wait, we never responded to this person. We didn't put a love or anything like that? Sorry, Andrea. We love it now.
Yeah.
We waited 2 days to do it. Somebody showed us love and we were like, eh.
The point is, people, interact with us. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, it might take us 2 days.
Sometimes we post hey, what's your favorite movies? And then we might watch those movies and talk about it. So sometimes we do polls. Sometimes we're just telling you what's up. Come hang out with us online. That's what I'm saying. We want to hear from y'all. Also, you can Josh is replying right now. So that's why he's done talking. But follow us on Patreon. Pick a level. You can give us $1. You can give us $5. You can give us $1,000. We'll take any of it. Patreon helps.
We'll take any of it. You got buttons, corns, anything. We'll take it all.
Yeah. We'll give you, but what happens is if you're a Patreon supporter, then we'll shout you out like we do our fabulous supporter, Ben Merritt.
Yeah, shout out to Ben.
We've maybe said his name every episode, I think. If we missed one, then sorry, Ben. I'll say your name a couple more times and maybe make up for it. So Ben Merritt is a fabulous Patreon supporter, so join Ben.
And download his game with his cousin, Lab Chaos, on iOS and Android.
There you go. Find Lab Chaos.
I'm doing the theme music. Theme music for Lab Chaos.
All of this.
Do it on the train. Play it in the sky. Play it underwater. Play it
And if anyone's still listening, because this has been a long, rambling ending to our podcast.
Whatever. They lie to the bitter end.
Thanks for listening.
From the rooter to the tutor.
No, we can't end with that. What's the thing you said, Josh?
I said, those men wanted to have sex with me.
No. Hey, Josh. Looking good.
You're supposed to say, looking good, Josh.
Why did you have to ruin it? It was close
You ruined
enough.
it. You said it wrong.
Looking good, Josh.
Like if I said, what's the password?
Good, Josh.
And you it was supposed to be scrumdiddlyumptious, and you said scrumdiddlyumptious. That's wrong.
Okay,
All right. Well, with that kung fu grip, we say
sell high,
buy young beef jerky.